to GRCNA 39.5. New possibilities arise, and welcome to our workshop on mental health and recovery. Regarding anonymity, when joining a virtual meeting, you will need to keep your video turned off to guarantee your anonymity. If you turn your video on, you are choosing to be seen by the other participants. You can also change your name or switch to first name plus last initial to protect your identity. Let's open with a moment of silence, followed by the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change.
Courage
to change the things I can,
and
the wisdom to know the difference.
Welcome to the Georgia Region's first virtual convention, GRCNA 39.5, New Possibilities Arise. Our intention for this virtual convention is to make available to our fellowship a weekend of recovery, celebration, and fun. We hope that all addicts receive the NA message of recovery while they're participating in this event. It is our hope that the message we carry may truly let everyone know that NA is a place to recover and that no addict seeking recovery need die from addiction. Workshop participation guidelines. Please dress appropriately on camera. Please keep your microphone on mute unless you are asked to unmute by the host or a co-host. If you have a question or need general assistance during the workshop, please contact the host or one of the co-hosts via direct message in chat. If there is time after our workshop speakers finish, participants may have an opportunity to share their experience, strength, and hope on the workshop topic. If you would like to share after the speakers are finished, please raise your virtual hand. Your virtual hand can be raised by going to the reactions window on your computer or by going to the More section on your phone. You will be called on to share and unmuted or asked to unmute by yourself by one of the hosts if time permits. Please limit such shares to 3 to 4 minutes. I have asked for volunteers to read how it works. Adam H., would you mind reading?
And Marcus, I'm at it.
Hey, Marcus.
Hey, this is how it works. If you want what we have to offer and are willing to make the effort to get it, then you're ready to take certain steps. These are the principles that made our recovery possible. Step 1, we admitted that we were powerless over our addiction, that our lives have become unmanageable. Step 2, we came to believe in a power greater than ourselves that could restore us to sanity. Step 3, we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. Step 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Step 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Step 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove all these defective characters. Can you move it up a little bit? There you go. Move it down, just there you go. Step 7, we humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. Step 8, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Step 9, we made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Step 10, we continued to take personal inventory when we were wrong and promptly admitted it. Step 11, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for the knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. Step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to the addict that still suffers. We try to carry this message to the addict and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Thanks for letting me read. Sorry.
Hey, family, I'm Robert, and I am a recovering addict.
Hey, Robert.
Hey, the 12 traditions, the 12 traditions of NA. We keep what we have, only with vigilance. And just as freedom for the individual comes from the 12 steps, so freedom for our group springs from our tradition. As long as the ties that bind us together are stronger than those that will tear us apart, all will be well. 1, our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends on NA unity. 2, for our group purpose, there's but one ultimate authority, a loving God, as he may express himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants that do not govern. 3, the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop using. 4, each group should be autonomous, except in matters affecting other groups or NA as a whole. 5, each group has for one primary purpose, to carry the message to the addict who still suffers. 6, an NA group are never endorsed, financed, or lended in a name to any related facility or outside enterprise. That's problems of money, property, or prestige that divert us from our primary purpose. 7, every NA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contribution. 8, Narcotics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. 9, NA as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. 10, Narcotics Anonymous had no opinion on outside issues, hence the NA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. 11, our public relation policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need to always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and film. 12, anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our tradition, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me read.
My name's Krista. Our first speaker tonight, actually, is Sam T. from Macon, Georgia.
Sam, how are you doing? Are you here? I see him, but I don't think.
He says he still doesn't have
Still doesn't have audio.
All right. Well, how about Matt can start?
Yo, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We hear you.
Can you hear me well?
We hear you.
We hear you.
All right, sweet. I was gonna have a cigarette if if he was the first speaker. Hey, but look, I'm gonna do that anyway because I'm at my house. I'm an addict named Matt. Lately, these days, I in a way of stating principles before personalities. Nowadays, I say that I'm an addict, and my problem is Matt. I got that from a guy named Chuck off of a speaker tape that I heard because somebody in our fellowship died and left a bunch of tapes, and I got about 80 of them. I'll turn around. You can see me. This is the blue light special, and right outside my house. So mental health, recovering while having issues with mental health. I don't say that I have 19 years of recovery, but I say that I have 19 years not using any type of mind or mood altering substances. The way that I got to this program was a story in itself. And recently I have been talking with people that had similar ways of getting into this program. Hey, when I stutter, leave my stutters out, okay? Leave them out. Okay. Right. Sometimes when a word is coming out, when a sentence is coming out, you know, I'll repeat myself. I'll be like, and I was gonna. Okay, so the way that my recovery started, see, I didn't use all of the drugs available to us. I still use this drug, this nicotine drug. I still use caffeine quite a bit, but you know, I'm not going to jail for that. So back in 2001, that was when things were starting to go downhill very quickly for me. There were job losses, jobs that I deserved to lose because I was high all the time. And my mental health issues stemmed from trauma. And I was listening to Tanya speak, and I had similar things go on in my life. At 8 years old, I was molested by not only a preacher, but the director of a summer camp that I attended for many years. It happened again when I was 13 at an assistant scoutmaster's home. Now, I don't think that they do that kind of stuff anymore, you know, having kids go to, you know, spending the night at a scout leader's house anymore. I think people are more careful now. And I don't want to say this about the whole issue. This may be just real quick, this may be an outside issue, but I don't blame Boy Scouts of America for being molested. I blame that dude, but I don't blame anymore, because it's just part of my story that got me to where I am, because those experiences of that happening gave me tools of helping other people that happened to. And when I shared openly, honestly about those experiences, and later just blocking out the first one, just blocked it completely out, and I hadn't told anybody about it but my brother. And then later, when I was married the second time, he just up and says, "You remember what you told me?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I do." I just remembered I'm not supposed to cuss, so I'm gonna not cuss. I was gonna ring a little bell every time that I wanted to cuss, but I don't have that near me. That's too much. That's theatrics. No theatrics. So Risa knows about theatrics. We both have studied opera, right? I don't call myself an opera singer because I'm not being paid for that at the Met. Now, then if I was doing that, I would call myself an opera singer, but I've been trained to sing that way. So this trauma created some mental illness. It created issues. I had not just a distaste, but a rather big hatred for authority. Hatred. You can't talk to me. You can't say that. You know, don't you know who I am? You know, and then the ego steps in, and then you start trying to prove to the world how bad you are because of the trauma that you suffered, and because a reaction, like, ain't nobody gonna touch me anymore, right? And I know today that abusers have been abused. They have been abused. It happened to them. So I don't have hatred anymore for that. I've let the blame go, because I realize today that we all have trauma. All of us have trauma. We do. But some of us become drug addicts. Some of us find drugs in all their myriads of forms and begin using them to shut out the pain, to avoid the pain. And we got really good. Well, you know, I'll speak for me. I got really good at avoiding pain. Got really good at it. you know, and just went to sleep. I became a sleepwalker. I was sleepwalking through life, merely existing. So everything came to a head in December of 2001. And my clean date is December 23rd. And for 13 years, I called my clean date Groundhog Day, because that was the day after I found my way to Narcotics Anonymous. And it's like, this is my first full day as a member of Narcotics Anonymous. But, you know, I stopped using in December and spent some time locked up, not in jail, but a place where you have just as, you know, just as much the absence of freedom, okay? So, cut to that night, 23rd of December 2001. I'm watching The Prince of Egypt with a friend of mine. She was the only friend that was coming to see about me anymore. And she was bringing me drugs. I would cook for her. And there was sex involved, but it wasn't a love relationship. Not at all. Can't speak for her feelings toward me, but, you know, it wasn't a love relationship as far as I'm concerned. I mean, for as far as I was concerned. But it was attention, and I was really needing attention. And I had been married. I was divorced. That was marriage number one. I was terrible at that marriage, but I was still very sick. I'm going to close the door, but I'll keep talking because I've still got these out. So you can still hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yes? You can still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so cut to that night. We're watching The Prince of Egypt. Oh, that must be a delay, because then the answer started coming. All right, so we're watching The Prince of Egypt, and we got to the burning bush scene of you know, The Prince of Egypt, the animated production of The Prince of Egypt, the one with Val Kilmer as the voice of Moses, Ralph Fiennes as Ramses, and the voice that they used for God was also Val Kilmer, because I believe that people have that experience, that when God talks to us, that it sounds like our own voice in our head. So the whole burning bush thing, you know, it started happening. It was very well done. You know, that whole, you know, when the bush, you know, erupts, when, you know, God gets impatient with Moses, and like, yeah, and I will smite them with all my wonders and all that. And I'm not getting a non-religious kick or anything like that. That's not what this is. But I started feeling that in my chest. I felt like what was happening on the screen was happening in my chest. And I turned to my friend and I said, "Did you feel that?" And she said, "Yeah." And I'm like, how does she know what I'm talking about? Because I hadn't said what I was feeling. All right. So anyway, and we were high. And so cut to the next morning. I haven't used any drugs, and I see the same scene playing in my living room, but the television is off. And I make sure the television is off. So I'm like, wow, that's peculiar. It's kind of cool, but peculiar. And then that night, I can't remember what time it was, but I was asleep, and I had a dream that went like this. There were 3 people in the dream. 3. One was my father, and the next one was my oldest brother, and they're both hanging their heads in shame. Not shame, sorrow. And they're weeping, but I don't hear their voices. And Then there's a third person in that dream, and it's a kid named Josh from my church. Josh Lawton, who I thought was a very smart, cool kid, but a kid. And he delivers this message to me. Hey, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but your little buddy suffocated. Who's little buddy? And I was like, oh crap, this is my son, because my son was three years old. Oh man, they're starting to make noise upstairs. Great. My landlords live upstairs. So I was like, oh, that's gotta be my son, because my wife and I would call him little buddy, like from the Jungle Book. Hey, don't make that noise, you're about to wake up little buddy. So we were calling him little buddy. And so I freak out, and I go to the phone. Oh, I remember what time it was. It was 5:30 in the morning, and I go to the phone and I call my wife, and I don't remember if the divorce is final yet, but we split for the last time. We split 3 times. And I'm like, can you please go look at him? Tell me he's breathing. Can you please do that? And she's like, you're high. What's wrong with you? And I'm like, please just humor me. Go look at him. Tell me he's breathing. And he was fine. My son is 23 years old. He's a fantastic person. He is so cool. Didn't grow up with the issues that I grew up with. So I collapse on the floor, and I can't move. And for the first time in my life, I can't remember the Lord's Prayer. And I grew up in church. I knew the Lord's Prayer. I knew all the creeds. I knew all that stuff. But I couldn't remember it this time. I even was praying all kinds of stuff when I did acid for the first time, freaking out because I was seeing stuff that was frightening. It was terrifying at first, and then later it got cool. And so can't remember it. I feel like a hand is holding me down on the floor. Stay still. You better stay still. Stay down. You better listen to this. You better remember this. This is important. I need you to talk about this later. Okay. So slowly, it starts to relax, and I start to remember about one word at a time. And I'm saying it, and I'm just like, come on, you know this. And I start saying it over and over. I go to the bathroom, I'm splashing water on my face. Our Father, looking in the mirror, holding on to the sink for dear life, and remembering it. And I finally get to the end of it, and I keep saying it. I look around at my apartment, which is, my apartment was a metaphor for how my life was going. And at one point, the neighbor who lived in back of me, we were getting high on his porch, and I was like, Charles, everything I have in the world is in that apartment. Right. So then later the apartment burns because of an electrical wire failing. So it's like God says, I'll show you. That's not all you have in the world. Anyway, but that was later. But start looking around, it's a mess. And I'm like, I gotta start straightening things up. I gotta. So I go to the kitchen, and dishes stacked all up in the sink, dirty, stinking. And I pick up one plate to start with, and I start cleaning it. Turn on the water. I'm scrubbing it. I'm looking out the window, and that first really, really honest prayer for help happened. Please help me. I need help. I don't know what is going on. I get this message that somebody's going to die. I don't know if it's me or my son. I don't know who it is. I don't know who little buddy is. I was little buddy. The way that I look back now, I was little buddy, right? So please help me, right? So this is what happened next. I didn't find out what a Kundalini rising was until much later. So this is a sensation I felt. I started feeling some churning at the base of my spine. you know, right in the bottom of my back. You know, if you're into chakras, the root chakra, okay. Hot and cold energy just stirring like that. It starts to move up my back, just like that. And I'm not freaked out by this because it feels real good. Comes up over my shoulder, and I'm like, okay, is this energy snake gonna bite me? Or this is what I felt. I felt this. I didn't hear any words, but it was as though every cell in my body told me, you're gonna be okay now. Not thou shalt stop using drugs, thou shalt be okay, thou shalt not be an idiot anymore, but you're gonna be okay now. And immediately the depression went away, and I started acting like a preacher, and I started being a preacher. I started saying things like, I have been selected to move forward. This is the last physical life that I will have to live because I've been selected to move forward. And I started freaking people out, freaking them out with this immediate change of behavior. Freaked out my neighbors, freaked out people. And in the midst of this, I was in communication with a former teacher of mine, and he said, hey, I want you to join this band of mine called the 1030 band. I'm like, what do you call it? 1030 band, because that's when everybody starts to get loose and drunk enough to have a good time. The audition consisted of three gigs to come and sit in and sing a little bit. And how I was doing then, you give me a stage, oh my Lord. Oh my Lord. Okay, so I didn't get that gig because, I was just going through this conversion. And I stopped sleeping, I stopped eating, I stopped bathing. And I was virtually awake for about a week. And the body can't handle that. It just can't handle it. I started crashing. Okay, so cut to New Year's Eve of 2002. So I got myself in a state where I was running down the hill from the Columbus Country Club, and I had sensations that I was becoming Jesus the vampire. I felt and saw in my hands, clear as day, clear as Risa is sitting there, holes in my hands. I saw and felt claws coming out of my fingers. I felt fangs growing in my mouth. I felt claws growing on out of my toes. And I was running and I was running and I was running. I was freaking out. I was just like, I got to find Dr. Love to give me the medicine to, either stop this or to make it go all the way through. I don't know who Dr. Love was, but I ended up pounding on a guy's door that happened to know my brother, my oldest brother, the brother that was in the dream. And his name was Paul Grantham. And then he was the uncle of a friend of mine named Kurt. And I was doing all kinds of singing and genuflecting and bowing and getting on my knees and rolling in the grass and I thought the dude had a shotgun. He didn't have a shotgun. He had a bat though, because it was 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm pounding on his door, and I'm like, oh my darling, knock 3 times, and I swear that I heard boom, boom, boom back. I heard it back, Maybe there was a delay, just like this delay on our platform here. So he ended up calling the police, and they found out who I was. The cops come and they come and look down at me because I'm laying in the yard, and they go, what's your name? And I said, Jesus Christ. So Paul Grantham didn't press charges that night because he said, okay, I don't want to press charges because the last time that I heard somebody say that, it was my brother. and my brother's on death row for triple murder. This guy needs help. He doesn't need jail. So I went to West Central Georgia Regional Hospital, and I was trying to exorcise demons out of everybody. I was still the preacher at that time. That I went back. I stopped being Jesus the vampire and went back to being preacher. And I was holding the hands of the doctors and singing Amazing Grace and all stuff like that. So they definitely remember me. They, no way they can forget me, an experience like that. But they said, okay, you have bipolar. You got to take these meds and you got to stop taking drugs. Now, during this time with this, the sensations that I had felt, I'd already made the decision to stop using drugs because whatever I was feeling was the best that I had ever felt. It was better than any drug. The best drug I ever did was my brain. Okay. So they're like, okay, you got to stop or you're going to keep coming back, and they were using it's like, you got to take your meds. Even if you don't do the drugs, you got to take your meds or you're going to keep coming back. So I'm hearing keep coming back. Right. So how do I stay off drugs? So I found my way to Narcotics Anonymous. The first two meetings that I went to were AA meetings. Sam Roney and Jan Hyatt were music teacher colleagues of my mom and friends, and they took me to two meetings in one night. And I said stuff like, I'm a substance abuser, because they're talking about, alcohol being cunning and baffling. Okay, now, like, the way that I look at it is this. I don't mean to offend anybody, but let's say that this coffee in this cup, I don't believe that a drug is cunning and baffling. It's me, it's my disease that's cunning and baffling. Okay, I believe that Narcotics Anonymous is the only fellowship that split off from NA and broaden its focus. It is the only one. I mean, you got these other anonymous groups that focus on a single substance. They're talking about singleness of purpose, but our purpose is addiction. Our disease is addiction. Where does addiction live? Between my ears. Where does my recovery live? Between my ears and in my heart. So that's the connection, and I think that what Narcotics Anonymous has done for me is given me a way to live that I didn't find anywhere else. I sure as heck didn't find it in church. I didn't find it in the Boy Scouts. What I found there was molestation. Okay. The only place that started teaching me spiritual principles is Narcotics Anonymous. Trust, unconditional love, compassion. 4 of them that I call the path is patience, acceptance, tolerance, and humility. Patience, acceptance, tolerance, and humility. So, thank you. I see it. So, I never used a drug again. And I've stayed, I've stuck. I'm not going anywhere. What has happened in my life has been no less than a miracle. And everybody here listening is a miracle. And if you haven't found the miracle, don't leave. Don't leave. So George asked me to play a little bit. And earlier we did a sound check, and I'm gonna keep these headphones on. And maybe it won't clip, but we'll just go for it. This is Peter Gabriel's song, "Don't Give Up." This proud land we grew up strong. We were wanted all along. I was taught to fight, taught to fear. I never thought I could fail. Don't fight right left, or so it seems. I am a man who things wrong to do. I changed my face, I changed my name, but no one wants you when you lose. Don't give up, you still have friends. Don't give up, you're not beaten yet. Don't give up, I know you can make it good. Though I saw it all along, never thought that I could be affected. Thought that we'd be last to go. It is so strange the way things turn. Over next you was my home, the place that I was born on the lakeside. The trees had burned down to the ground. Don't give up, cause you have friends. Don't give up, not even yet. Don't give up, but somewhere there's a place where we belong. Rest your head, you worry too much. It's gonna be alright. When times get rough, you can come back on us. Don't give up. Please don't give up. Thank you for letting me share it. Thank you for listening. I'm Matt. I'm an addict.
Thanks, Matt.
Good job, Matt.
Thank you for sharing, Matt.
Our next speaker is Sam T. from Macon, Georgia. Are you on now, Sam?
Yes, I'm on. Can you hear me?
Oh, we hear you. Oh,
Hey!
Hey. Well, I'm Sam. I'm an addict.
Sam.
I just want to tell you a little bit about me. Went to treatment back in '86, and that was during the time that people really got treatment, in my opinion. Not knowing to me, I was an addict, and what I did was, when they put me in treatment for like 42 days. That was the standard amount of time for an addict to be in treatment back in '86 at the facility that I went to. And I needed every bit of that. One of the things that was surprising to me was that on the floor that I was on, right across the nurse's station was the psych unit. Now, it kind of, was kind of strange to me that I'd be on the same floor with people on the psych unit. Little did I know that we had a lot in common. One of the things is about how the drug affects our brain and what it does to our brain. And a lot of our withdrawal symptoms kind of mimic mental health issues, depression, anxiety. I heard the guy talk about bipolar. I mean, we can act like that and without having that diagnosis. So experience started back then, and since that time, I have not found a need to use since July 4th, 1986. And during that time, after about 4 years in recovery, I was able to go into addiction recovery, and that has been my career for the last 30 years plus. One of the things that when I hear about workshops and things like that, what I imagine is that people want to gain insight into what's
Sam, your audio is cut out.
He's muted.
Sam, could you unmute? We can't hear you.
Sam, you're muted.
Sam.
Can't hear you, Sam.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm back. All right. Well, one of the things that happened with me was that I would go to workshops, and I remember my sponsor, telling me it was time for me to do my 4-step. And in my 4-step, I learned that procrastination was one of my problems. So, but I went to workshops, and I got cassette tapes back in the day on the 4 steps. And one of the things that the 4 steps said that my shit is warm and I'm comfortable in it. Now that was on the actual tape and the message that day. And it made a lot of sense to me because I could identify with the mess that I had made of my life, and that at one point I was not willing to change that. Now, to move this thing along, one of the things that I realized also that I had some mental issues early on in recovery. One of those mental issues was that, like for the first 6 months, I didn't know whether I was going or coming. There was a lot of confusion in my brain, and what I didn't know was that my brain was trying to repair itself. And I would be sitting at a Friday night meeting. We used to have a speaker meeting on Friday night, and I'm from the Old Muggy Group in Macon, Georgia. And they would be sharing, and then when they pass out the chips, I would wonder whether or not I should go up and pick up a chip. And that was because my mind was playing tricks on me. I mean, I would have using dreams that were so intense that I didn't know whether they were real or not. And without anybody to talk to, sometimes what I would do is I would think to myself, should I go pick up a white chip or not, because of the confusion that was going on. There was no evidence of using whatsoever. So I'm just saying that to say is what a powerful tool our minds are. I mean, our mind is something else. So when you have somebody that's in recovery that has legitimate diagnosed mental issues, it's no joke. One other experience I want to share with you, and then I want to get to some literature. One of the things is a guy in my group, and he's a nice fellow, but I didn't know that he had mental health issues. And I remember sitting in a meeting one day, and I noticed somebody staring at me. And, I felt that. And I looked back at this guy, and he was just really looking at me really hard. And I'm saying, and I'm asking myself, like, what's going on with this dude? And he kept doing it. And, I would look back every so often, and what I saw eventually was he jumped up and he actually cussed me out and left the meeting. I didn't know that he wasn't on his medication. I didn't even know that he was taking medication. But he's one of the best people you want to know when he is on his medication. And one of the things is that when we talk about mental health and recovery, we need to listen to our literature and not be so judgmental of other people. I mean, that's not what we're here for. And it states in the basic text and how it works. The physical aspect of our disease is the compulsive use of drugs, the inability to stop using once we have started. The mental aspect of our disease is the obsession, our overpowering desire to use, even when we are destroying our lives. So that tells you in itself, if our minds are that powerful, and I am fortunate that I was in treatment long enough for that mind to settle down and to reach a place where I leveled out at some point. Now, even though I still struggled for like 6 months, but I had people around me that understood what was going on that were helping me through the situation. And later on in the basic text, in More Be Revealed, which a lot of us have problems with, it states, this is a program of total abstinence. There are times, however, such as in cases of health problems involving surgery and or extreme physical injury, when medication may be valid. I remember coming in, and when I came in, the only answer was total abstinence. Now, I hadn't got to this part of the book, and I remember hearing that, and I remember people saying that, you know, if you're in Narcotics Anonymous, you don't need to use any drugs. I had a sponsor that believed in that. And when he had to go on medication for medical problems, he stopped going to meetings. Soon after that, I got another sponsor. And as a matter of fact, by his suggestion, I got another sponsor. We find ourselves doing and enjoying, this does not constitute a license to use. There is no safe use of drugs for us. Our bodies don't know the difference between the drugs prescribed by a physician for pain and the drugs prescribed by ourselves to get high. As addicts, our skills of self-deception will be at its peak in such a situation. Often our minds will manufacture additional pain or as an excuse to use. Turning it over to our higher power and getting the support of our sponsor and other members can prevent us from becoming our own worst enemies. Being alone during such times will give our disease an opportunity to take over. Honest sharing can dispel our fears of relapse. And one of the things I wanted you to know about that, I had a sponsee that had like 17 years clean. And his wife was also in recovery. I got a call from her one day and saying that he was taking a medication and he was taking too much. I approached him, came over immediately. I talked with him and asked him, you know, what was going on. He lied to me. Soon after that, he relapsed. And at the relapse, I want you to understand, this guy has passed now and is not from drug use. He developed cancer later on, but he struggled after that relapse for quite some time. And I think it had somewhat to do with the opinions that some of us hold about using drugs in recovery. Because, you know, people that like old school, like myself, that's been here a while, what they, you know, want to hold on to is that total abstinent model that does not necessarily work. Now, we have literature that explains that even more. And when I was told that I had this workshop, I checked on a couple of things. One of them was NA groups and medication. And what it pointed out is our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends on NA unity. Now, it says the information here is intended for NA groups as they consider how to address this issue. As a part of this discussion, drug replacement, and it's talking about methadone maintenance and Suboxone and that sort of stuff. Drug replacement is addressed in a separate section because NA's philosophy of complete abstinence differentiates a drug used as a replacement from prescribed medication for other mental or physical conditions. We hope the following approaches will help groups in their efforts to preserve unity, welcome members, and create an atmosphere of recovery. When NA groups consider the topic of medication, including the use of prescribed medication for surgery, injury, illness, and medication for the mental health, we can begin by acknowledging the complexity of the situation. And what I'm saying about that is that we have varying opinions about that. But as far as I know, Narcotics Anonymous does not turn these people away. One of the things that I have learned is that they tend to have a tendency to run people away, and they have developed so many different 12-step programs, because also special need programs, and they all could come to Narcotics Anonymous if we could be more welcoming to those people. Another piece of literature talks about NA's primary purpose is on providing a recovery environment wherein drug addicts can share their recovery experience with one another. By remaining free from the distraction of controversy, NA participants can focus all of their energy on NA's primary purpose, which is carrying the message of recovery. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop using. How do you measure a desire? I mean, it is impossible for us to tell what a person's desire is. I had a client one time that I was running this house for men, and I remember this guy, when he came to our facility, he had nothing. He came to the facility, or he came to town, he sneaked on a Greyhound bus. And when he got there, I mean, he was always po-mouthing and saying, man, I need this, I need that, I need the other thing. Now, this guy was doing well in the program. He accumulated a few things and all that. And then what happened, one day, he and his roommate got into a fight. Now, one of the cardinal rules of the facility was no fighting. So when he got into the fight, then I had to address it and to see, you know, what was what and who needed to go. This guy, who obviously had some mental health issues, sit with me and my direct supervisor, and we asked him what happened. He said, I did it. Now what y'all gonna do? I'm saying, you must be out of your mind. You know, because he had it going on. He had a lovely place to stay. He had food to eat. He had clothes to wear. I mean, all his basic needs were met. And he told, well, what y'all gonna do? Well, what had to happen was we had to put him out. But the message that I gave him on his discharge was that this does not mean that you have to use drugs. And I want to tell you that I never would have guessed it, but this guy's still clean today. And he is deeply involved in Narcotics Anonymous. There was one other piece of literature that I looked at, and it came from In Times of Illness. And it says, mental health issues. We recommend turning our legal problems over to lawyers, our financial or medical problems to professionals. Part of learning how to live successfully is learning when we need help. One of the beautiful things about NA is that addicts from all walks of life can find recovery in our program. Our meetings welcome anyone who has the desire to experience the narcotics program of recovery. Some members recover in NA with mental illness that requires medication. Just as we wouldn't suggest that an insulin-dependent diabetic addict stop taking their insulin, we don't tell mentally ill addicts to stop taking their prescribed medication. We leave medical issues up to the doctors. As NA members, our primary purpose is to carry the message of recovery to the addict who still suffers, not to give medical advice. Responsibility rests with the member to be honest about their condition with informed healthcare professionals and to evaluate their treatment and medication options. Now, I guess the last thing I want to talk about is informed healthcare professionals. There are very few in our society today, unfortunately, but there are some, and you have to seek them out. And when I say an informed healthcare professional, what I'm talking about is somebody who is knowledgeable about addiction medicine, the importance of not putting someone on medication that is going to harm them, but is going to help them, putting them on the right level of medication. And I have dealt with doctors and psychiatrists that are knowledgeable about addiction medicine, and it makes all the difference in the world for somebody that's in recovery. A lot of men have issues about medication because it affects their libido. Say it plain and simple. A lot of women have issues with medication because of the side effect they gain weight. And so the thing is, it's finding the right medication and also being giving them a holistic approach to the recovery process, where eating right and exercise and all those other things are involved in that recovery process. NA is the best thing I ever ran into, and one of the things is that it has enriched my life tremendously. And I just want to say that, you know, I have grandkids that have never seen me high. I have a 21-year-old grandson that's in college right now. I found out that he was using drugs, and me and him had a serious talk. But one of the things I asked him, I said, have you ever seen me drink, or have you ever seen me do a drug? And he said, no, Papa, I've never seen that. And I'm saying, well, look, man, why do you think it's necessary for you to do that? And I was glad that Narcotics Anonymous availed me that opportunity to be there for him. And that's it. I just want you to understand that we have to step back and don't forget where we came from, and realize that that addict that's sitting right next to us in a meeting may have mental health problems and may need medication in order to survive. Because some people that are bipolar, they become so hyper sometimes, or they get to moving so fast that they don't realize what they're doing till after the effect. And some of them become so depressed that they want to take themselves out. So I want you to understand something. It's a serious issue, and we need to. I mean, the literature is there. Narcotics Anonymous has taken a non-judgmental stance on it, but the fellowship, the people, have the issue. So we need to look seriously at that, and we need to maintain this atmosphere of recovery. And thank you for allowing me to share. My name is Sam T.
Thank you so much, Sam. Oh my goodness.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. That was great.
Chills. Oh my gosh.
Awesome. Now there's a
Thank you.
real
That was
professional.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sam.
Great job, Sam.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Sam.
Great job on the ASL.
I think we still have time. Would any participants care to share their own experience, strength, and hope on our workshop topic?
Patrick, I see your hand is raised. Would you like to share?
Yeah, why not? Fuck it. You're supposed to cut.
Go ahead, Patrick.
Hear me?
We can hear you now.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you just cut in.
Okay, yeah. I didn't get to hear all of it. So I'm doing laundry and dealing with kids and stuff. But I know when I got here and before now, like mental health, I definitely grew up like, oh, I can handle it. I got it. It's fine. I'll figure it out. With that whole situation, but like definitely didn't want to see a counselor or a shrink or anything for fear of like straitjackets and bouncy rooms, padded rooms. right? Because, you know, like a lot of the shit we share in meetings, like people understand, like if we talked about the shit we talk about in the meetings in public, people would freak the fuck out. So I never wanted to do that. And then so much shit happened to me when I was a kid. Like I was 14 maybe, and my dad was murdered. So like I learned compartmentalization pretty young. And so even when I got here, like I was able to at least like cope and separate it, and not like it didn't just fuck me up real bad. So the mental thing I was able to just kind of at least push down for a while. And that, you know, learning, doing steps and learning more about myself, definitely realized like that's not healthy, right? Like, so at some point I'm going to funerals for fellow addicts and like I can't cry because I'm stuffing everything down for so long, right? Or with that comes like the lack of joy, right? So like I'm just even kill all the time, so I don't even get to experience like the full joy of some events or like different things like that. And then I got to like the 7th step and like a self realization, and like I got to pick and choose the defects that I kept and got rid of. And I'd done some poetry on the 5th step about my character defects, so I kind of dove into those pretty good before I got to that step. And so by the time I got there, I was ready to like get a shrink. And I think the lady I found is a counselor. She's not a shrink, but like she lets me call her a shrink, and I feel better about it when I call her a shrink. So it's good for us. But working on the defects and like the character itself, and then coupled with a shrink, which I've had for like 2 months, like finally doing something about mental health and like seeking outside help, like I've heard about so many years in the program, and finding the right one that fit me. Also, I've done one before for like a custody case, but as soon as they started talking about pills, I left. I'm not into, I didn't want to do that. But yeah, so like now that I've found one and like ready and on the right step to dive into all that shit and accept it, like I'm happier than I've ever been. Like it's made such a difference. And it's timing and all the other stuff going on, but like once I started working with her, and like it wasn't, oh well shit, okay, yep. So I told her I wasn't trying to fix old shit. It was just about working on very specific things in my life now, not trying to fix the damage. I've dealt with all that, but like it's made such a difference now that I've actually tried to focus on, you know, getting help with the mental part of it. And yeah, it's just like it's gotten me to a point where like I'm not going to put up with any bullshit. I'm not going to let anything interrupt or come between me and my serenity. And that's from, you know, working the steps and kind of diving into that mental health thing. So I really appreciate the topic. I could talk about it for a while, but I just got a little picture that said I'm done. So thanks for letting me share.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you, Patrick.
Yeah, anytime.
Nice job, buddy.
Thanks, Pat.
Robert, I see your hand is raised. You want to share?
Yes, I'm Robert, and I am still a recovering addict.
Hey, Robert.
Man, you know, both speakers again was really, really good. And Sam, you know, you really touched on a lot of stuff that that I can relate to. You know, one of the reasons I use is that was my way. Using was my way of coping with my mental illness. You know, I suffer with mental illness. Matter of fact, I have a mental illness diagnosis. I was diagnosed with clinical depression, and so one of the ways that I dealt with that is by using, because you know, when I was using, I didn't have to feel I didn't feel the depression. I mean, I didn't feel the depression until until I was out, until all the dope was gone. Then I felt the depression. But as long as I was using, I didn't have to feel. You know, so it kept me using for a lot of years, and I came to this program, and one of the things that I learned early on is that it is okay to seek outside help. You know, and our literature talks about that, like Sam was saying. Sometimes we have to seek outside help, and that's what I did. So I went and got some help, and I had a therapist. Matter of fact, I still have a therapist that I see from time to time to today. For the first year of my recovery, for the first year and a half of my recovery, I was on a psychotropic medication. So you know, I know today that mental illness is real, and a lot of us in this program suffer with it. And you know, one of the other things that I know today is that addiction falls under mental health. You know, so just just the fact that I suffer with the disease of addiction is, you know, there's some degree of mental illness surrounding that. You know, because it definitely falls under mental health. But you know, I'm just so grateful today to know that help is available, you know, and recovery is available, you know. But I would say this and be quiet. I definitely, you know, I do agree with Sam when, you know, when we were talking about some of the opinions in this fellowship. You know, I think that some of our opinion runs people away.
That's your time, Rob.
So anyway, thanks, Bob. Thanks. That's all I have. That's definitely share.
Thank you so much, Robert.
Thank
I love
you.
hearing you share.
Thank you.
Bad Bri got in touch with me via chat. So Nikki is going to interpret for him.
All right, you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, hey guys, my name is Bri. I'm an addict.
Hey, Bri.
So yeah, thank you both for speaking. I really related to your message. That was really powerful. Made me kind of feel like, you know, I'm not alone in this. When I got, you know, back in here, I found NA a while ago. So, but my heart, you know, I wasn't ready. My heart wasn't in it. I had no desire to stop using. And the only reason why I came was to make my family shut up. And then another reason, it was court ordered. So that's why I was coming to NA before. And once I came back in September of 2018, I started learning a lot more, and I started going to treatment. Well, I went to treatment first. And, you know, I knew that I have mental illness. I have PTSD. So they made me take medication for that. And at first, you know, it made me feel really groggy. I really didn't want to take it. And before September, like when I came in, they said that this medication would help from withdrawals. So I talked to other members, and they told me, no, that's just another drug. It's just substituting, one for another. So I found my sponsor and, we talked about it. He said, okay, maybe find some outside help, and maybe talk with the fellowship as well. And I felt like this medication just made me sleepy. I mean, not really high, but still for me, in my opinion, it still, was mind altering. And without that medication, I would be sweating, I had bad dreams, I couldn't sleep, or I started sleepwalking. And I would just get confused. And I remember somebody in the recovery house was tapping me on the shoulder when I was sleepwalking. And I was eating raw meat while sleepwalking. And this guy came up to me and was like, man, what are you doing? And I was just confused. And at this time I had to stop taking that medication for my PTSD, because I just kind of felt like, I don't know, I wasn't nice. I was whatever, but I was learning. I can't be perfect, but being confused like that and eating all of that, I don't know. I know it's okay to get help, outside help, and get help from the fellowship. And I just recently, I realized from recently what Robert was saying. Hold on one second. Yeah, I recognize the time. Okay. Okay, so what Robert was saying, we don't need to judge other people who are searching for outside help. And, lots of different people are going to have their own opinions about us or whatever we need to have. But I mean, we can talk about them. But there's, and I feel like there's a way to get our opinions out without crushing each other's spirits. I sometimes, have had differing opinions of other folks, and when I offended them, we've had to go back and forth and talk about it, but I don't want to be the person to make somebody leave. I mean, we're both addicts, and I want to be welcoming to people and show them the rooms of NA. So thank you for letting me share. Love you guys.
Thank you so much, Brian. I really loved hearing that. That was awesome. Richard, you have just a minute.
Okay, I can do it real quick. I'm an addict named Richard.
Hey, Richard.
With the time allotted, what I want to say is if I don't keep my mental health in check, first for me now with some time clean, if I don't keep my mental health in check, I have a very hard time keeping my recovery in check. And I want to be present in my life today. And I want to have friendships and close friendships. If I'm not paying attention to what's up here and what's here, then everything is out the window. And the beauty of this program for me is that no one's ever told me I don't belong. No one's ever told me you have to go seek outside help. We can't help you, because we're not doctors. We're recovering addicts. We're equal. That's the beauty of anonymity. I'm not better than. I'm not less than. I'm the same as you every single day. And I'll close with this. I've known most of my life that I've been wired differently, and I'm fine with that. I used to put a lot of identity into my mental health. That described me. Today, it does not identify me. I'm just me. But that took a lot of time, and that took a lot of therapy. But no one told me that I had to do it. Through recovery, I was able to make that decision and seek that help that I need the same way that I do with my own recovery. If a therapist or psychologist, psychiatrist says, you need to do this, you need to do that, I listen to them like I listen to a sponsee, because they just want what's best for me. So if you're new, keep coming back. And if you're struggling, keep coming back. And please, if you're struggling with mental health, please talk about it with someone. Don't be afraid, because we're all here for everyone. Thank you for letting me share.
Thanks so much, Richard. And thanks everybody for a great meeting. Chris, are you still here?
I am.
Right. Can you see the screen share?
I can. Okay, I'm an addict. My name is Krista.
Hey, Krista.
The seventh tradition and support for GRCNA. Donate via PayPal using registration at grecna.org. You can donate via Venmo using Georgia Regional Convention -40. If asked for the last 4 digits of the associated phone, use 0387. You can also donate via the website by registering or making a newcomer donation at https grecna.com/shop. Thank you. All right, I would like to thank today's workshop speakers and everyone who attended, and let's close with a moment of silence followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer.
Whee!
God,
grant us
serenity
to accept things we cannot change,
serenity,
courage
to accept things we cannot change, courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Thanks for a good meeting.
Great meeting, everybody. That was awesome.
Hey, Risa.
Somebody call
Thank
out.
you.
Yeah, Risa, can you get my email to Bad Brian? So he has hearing.
Oh, Risa already.
Sure.
He has hearing loss.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Did you put it in the chat?
Yeah, I did. It's
Okay.
Boatman Trek. Yeah.
Nikki, can you let him know?
That's my name scrambled.
Right on. Oh, look at you, Tommy. You already posted the 7th tradition. You got it going on. All right.
Well, I forgot. That was my job at the last meeting, not this one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I doubled up on you.
It's all good. I tend to be one of these people that's like, I'll do it. That's my own mental health stuff.
So
I'll tell you what.
For Bri, what was that email address?
Boatman Trek. BOATMANTREK. It's in the chat.
MANTREK at gmail.com. Basically, I just want to say that I wanted to say that yes, trust the professionals, and that psych meds can take a while to take effect, the full effect, to get them into your body, and also it's hit or miss sometimes. That sometimes the first med that they try to use is not the one for you, because the first time that they gave me Prozac, they didn't mania hadn't happened yet, so Prozac was really wrong for me. Somebody that has bipolar is not supposed to take Prozac. So what it did was help to shoot me through the roof. And then it's like, oh, well, you have bipolar, so no more Prozac, and start you on different meds, and constant communication with the professional will get you on the right meds. And it is hard to wait. I have a sponsee that's going through the same thing, that he is on meds, and they're taking a while, but he's starting to feel a little bit, but it takes patience. It takes patience to get there. And
Thanks, Matt.
not every med is for us. Everybody's different.
Takes a long
Nikki,
time.
I just want to say thank you to you. I so appreciate the job that you're doing. You're excellent and magnificent in so many ways, and I'm so happy to see you. You did a great job.
Thank you. I'm happy to
don't
see you
speak
again
Spanish,
too.
but
He translated for me at.
Hey, my name's Patty. I'm an addict.
Hey, Patty.
He translated for me at Inside Out. He's amazing.
I have
Hey, Patty.
to, I just wanted to chime in. I do not personally have a mental health issue, which I'm very grateful for. But I have to reiterate something that Sam said, that the issue is not with Narcotics Anonymous. The issue is with the members. And I have personally heard NA members tell a schizophrenic that he needs to quit taking his meds.
Mm-hmm.
And those of us that know better, we also need to jump on that right away. We need to tell them, no, that is not right. You talk to your doctor. Nobody in NA can tell you, or should ever tell you, any kind of psychiatric medication that you should quit taking it. That is not a requirement for membership. And we are not doctors, most of us. Some of us may be, but we're not, that's not our role in this. And you should only listen to your doctor when it comes to any psychiatric medication that you've been prescribed. And I'm really grateful that I was able to sit in this workshop tonight and that this issue is being addressed, because it's so, I have a very, very dear friend of 38 years in the program that she struggled for all of her life with issues. And as you know, so I've seen it close up, and I've seen that it's really like turning your back on somebody when you tell somebody that has need to be on medication. And it hurts my heart. So I'm glad that more of us are beginning to learn. And I think all of us as NAers need to step up and say, you know, no, this is not right. You don't tell people that.
You're absolutely right, Patty. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for sharing.
Thank you, everyone who shared. If anybody wants to stay in this meeting, I'm not sure how that would work, but I gotta go. I have to go to sleep. I love all of y'all, and I'm so grateful.
You can transfer you can transfer the host to somebody else. I'm willing to do that.
Are you willing? Okay. Do any of the co-hosts want to stick around, or y'all gotta go?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get out of here.
Yeah, same.
Okay. All right. All right, Matt, I'm going to transfer host to you. Jay is the owner of this account. So I'm not sure how long it's going to stay open.
Okay.
But hopefully Jay can let you know.
Right.
I think he might be on the phone right now, but it was wonderful to hear from all y'all. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much to Matt and to Sam. It was really a wonderful meeting. All right. Bye-bye, y'all.
Bye. Do we have anybody left that is sticking around? I have to see.
It's dwindled. There's like 8
participants. Okay, so if anybody
counting Nikki.
Okay. Yeah, if anybody has any questions that if anybody has any questions that I can answer through my own experience, I'm willing to see. And I have to say this is that you know, my sponsor is very big on this. My sponsor says that we are not about theories, concepts, and ideas, that we are about experience, strength, and hope. So that's what I have to offer. I'm not a mental health professional, but I do still hold a certification as a certified peer specialist, and that's a mental health certification. So I can answer with that hat and also being, you know, 19 years clean. So if anybody has questions, go ahead.
I can relate. Bipolar addicts, what's up?
Doesn't look like it.
Bring it on. You got something to say, Nick?
I mean, it was just interesting to hear another addict talk about having bipolar and then being on those high manias and like self-medicating and all of the mental health stuff that I was institutionalized multiple times for mixed episodes, which are fun. But
the thing that can shock members is because when mental illness is happening, it looks very much like using behavior. It looks very much like the same thing. And so I got to, now I've been hospitalized 4 times. The last one being 3 years ago in July, or 4 years ago this coming July. And it wasn't because I didn't use, it was because my meds got off. I was going through a very, very stressful time involving being a slave to the apartment that I was living in. I took in my sister because she got kicked out of her apartment for hoarding, and then I had her there for 9 months, and her issues were clashing with my issues and making my issues so much worse. And then I started neglecting my meds, and so all that has changed. I'm regular on my meds. I have my own place that is like a fraction of, it's half of what I used to pay. I rent a basement from some good church folks, and I'm very happy here. And that church is where my home group meets, and also has become the home of 4 other home groups. And it's amazing. The thing that really knocks me out is that my home group never stopped. The bishop that is over that church decided you can't cut those people off. And on the mental health side, I had a really good friend that was a sponsee brother who killed himself during all this. And we had the same thing. And I would see his behavior, and I'm like, God, I know that behavior. I know that, like the suit that's hanging, it's like, I have the same suit. It's hanging in my closet. Right. I've used that a lot in talking about it, that the figure that they told us in training is that people with mental illness die on an average of 25 years sooner than people that don't have it. Yeah, you factor in addiction, I mean, like another person said, I forget his name, that I have to treat them both. They both live in my head. I do think that addiction has every qualification of a mental illness. People who don't have it don't act like us, but then we understand each other, just like a suit hanging in our closet, just like, dude, I got the same suit. Doesn't fit me anymore, but I got the same suit. So that's my response to that. And I'm very grateful that I haven't been hospitalized more than I was, but I really think that was the last time. I know it'll be the last time. Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm not in control of that. All I can do is do what I'm supposed to do. And I know what I'm supposed to do. I need Narcotics Anonymous to treat my addiction, because my addiction is not going anywhere. All I can do is make the choice to be in recovery. I can either choose to leave it alone and have it resurface in all of its ugly forms, or treat it. Same with my my illness. I do see a professional that has the meds. I'm not in therapy right now because everything's like so awesomely groovy right now. But when I need therapy, I go to therapy. Psychiatrists, they see everything with a pill as an answer. Just as a carpenter sees a nail with a hammer as the answer. A plumber needs a plunger and a snake to fix that drain. It's the tools of their trade. And so, you know, I can talk all day about this, but I'm glad to hear any more questions that I can answer with my own experience.
Well,
Thank
I
you.
was gonna say,
you know, hey, I'd like to see you again, man. I mean, you know, as time permits. Yeah.
Once upon a time, I was a licensed psychiatric technician and worked in a mental hospital for 11 years. So I recognize the suit when it comes out with somebody in the meeting too. And you know, not from, like I said, I personally don't have those issues, but I recognize them, and it just pisses me off no end.
Yeah,
we'll do stuff like that to folks on medication. Or they try to, you know.
Right, when people say that,
especially
to somebody that really needs meds.
that they
because
know,
without my meds,
goes to meetings with them, you know.
Yeah, without my
not
meds, you guys
or anybody, just like some Joe Blow in a meeting. Oh, you need to quit taking those, or you know, you're not really clean.
Yeah. Without my meds, you guys would think I'm using. Seriously.
Yeah. Well, in a way, it kind of is, because
anybody else?
That's your maintenance for your mental health, just like the program is your maintenance for your addiction.
Yeah, yeah. Because some people will go off the meds just to experience that high again. Now, I've been told that bipolar, I've heard it said that bipolar is the only illness that has a good side. And I don't necessarily agree with that, because it's a dangerous side, because you lose judgment, you have no fear at all, you find yourself in situations that are deadly, and you're not afraid of it. It's like, you know, throw your hand in the fire, you know, stand in the fire. And the only way that we can learn to deal with fire is to learn how to stay the safe distance from it, you know. Depression is not fun to talk about. It's not interesting at all. Mania is very interesting to talk about.
Yeah, I have.
Especially when you're manic.
I have a family member who's a self-medicated bipolar, and it's not fun to watch. And by self-medicated, they doctor shop. They don't stay with one long enough to figure out what's going on, you know, or to regulate.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they just, you know, they go to this one, and then they'll go to that one, and then they'll go to that one.
Yeah.
Get whatever they want, and then, you know.
Yeah. It's like having multiple drug dealers if you're using that way.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, it's
definitely
hard to watch. It's hard to watch.
Yeah.
Matt B.
Yeah. I have a friend. Go ahead. Somebody spoke. Go ahead, please.
Oh, I was just saying hi, Matt. Hey, you guys keep talking. I'm sorry.
Somebody did. I heard a male voice.
Yeah, hey,
who is that?
That was me.
Who is that?
This is Jay.
Is that Felix?
Oh.
Felix, I recognize your voice without even. Oh, Jay. I'm sorry. You sound like Felix. I A friend of mine, okay, when I got back to meetings, you know, there was a period of time about 6 years where I was like, hey, I'm in a stable marriage. I'm working in recovery, so that is my recovery. And no, it's not, because that was me being part of other people's recovery and not getting fed at all. And during that time, when I got back to meetings, and I went to It Works How and Why over in Suwannee, and that meeting died. But then Dre started that meeting again, started it back. There's an addict. I don't know where she is now. I have no idea, but I saw her go through mania. And just like you were saying, it was painful. It was excruciating to watch that. And I was asked to speak at her celebration, and I said, no, I can't, because it hurt. It hurt to be, because I mean, whatever, because she was doing all the acting out and the wild behavior. And we even, people who go manic, there's even certain things that we say that are exactly the same, because we're experiencing a lot of the same feelings. And like, there's a reason why, like when I went to the hospital, okay, see, my name is Matthew. And then, you know, then I met a guy named, met a guy named Mark. And see, we both had these birthmarks in our hair of a gray lock of hair, and I'm like, oh, it's a sign, it's a sign, and it's a sign, and that's what my friend was doing. She was doing all that kind of stuff, and my theory behind it is, I already walked. Yeah. Hello. Oh, that wasn't to me, was it? That wasn't to me, but. If you're ready for this little theory, I'll hit you with this. This is out of my own personal experience, and this doesn't come from our literature, but it speaks to what the mind is doing in mania.
Great meeting.
Now, when I said that part of my story, okay, thanks for being a part of this. Mm-hmm. The theory behind this is, you know, when I was laying in that guy's yard and the cop said, "What's your name, son?" And I said, "Jesus Christ." And you know, I said that I felt like I was becoming Jesus the vampire. Now, to the rest of the world, I was nuts. I was absolutely crazy. And I found out that when you're crazy, you don't know it. You don't feel it. You don't think it. You think everybody else is crazy. Okay. But it seemed like that everything that was happening to me, words coming out of my mouth that I'm Jesus Christ, I think that's whose hand was on me. This kid named Josh. I forgot to say this in my story. This kid named Josh, his name was Joshua, Yeshua. Go the whole 9 yards. You know, I believe that in that dream that was a form of Jesus saying, "Wake up." Now, I'm not a hallelujah Christian or anything like that. I mean, I'm definitely into spirituality, which is bigger than religion. And I do think that was the path, you know. So me lying in the guy's yard saying I'm Jesus Christ, that's whose hand was all over me, right? And I don't believe that I'm not an addict. I don't believe that I'm a ex-addict. Yes, I'm an addict because I still have all those tendencies, you know, because I've acted out while being clean from drugs. I've acted out using sex as a drug, just my thoughts, trying to fix, manage, and control. Yeah, I'm an addict. Life made me an addict. It certainly did. And you know, a good example of a dry addict is my mom. But the thing is, you know, the revelations that were happening to me, that were scaring everybody to death, were comforting, and that I went through, you know, the whole thing about being the Jesus the vampire, you know, temporarily. I believe that was a battle, that it was a battle inside of me. I mean, why else would I see holes in my hands and claws from my fingers? That's like, no, he's mine. No, he's mine. He's mine. He's mine. And, you know, like, no, I need him to be good. I need him to help other addicts. I need him to recover. I need him to be in recovery. I need him to stay clean. I need him to still be passionate and animate and still be a little crazy sometimes, but the right kind of crazy, and attract other people who are just as crazy. I mean, my home group is called SICK. But it's an acronym. It stands for Serenity is Common Knowledge. Once you're around the right people, it's twofold, you know. But you still, sick gets you here. Serenity is common knowledge, keeps you coming back. That's the whole idea behind that. And we never had to close down during the pandemic. You know, some people would say, "Oh gosh, that's terrible. That's dangerous." But we didn't get sick. I mean, we're always sick, but we didn't get sick. So, I mean, the spiritual aspects of it were a part of my recovery from day one. And I'm experiencing a time right now that is incredibly focused. I got out of a relationship because it was getting in the way, and it was the most peaceful ending of a relationship that I ever had, because I'm not into hurting people anymore. And I'm razor focused on starting a men's recovery mission, because recovery is a mission. It's a lifelong mission. And got the name picked out. I got the I got the paperwork in the works already for it to be an LLC. And then I think the only limitations to this thing is my own imagination, which is pretty huge. So it's like I'm taking this spiritual gift of recovery, and not just recovery, but evolution, because I've evolved much further than recovering the life that I had. And couldn't have done it. Couldn't have done it, any of it, without being a drug addict and having something to wake up from. Because I firmly believe that before we learn who we really are, that we have to experience who we are really not. And I believe that mind, body, and soul, and that's the biggest kick that I get, helping other people to heal mind, body, and soul. Because, you know, we're not just this body. That's only one part of us. This physical vessel is only one part of us, you know, mind, body, and soul, and spirit being the biggest part of it. And Wayne Dyer, you know, one of his quotes were that, you know, we have to get away from thinking that we're a body containing a soul, that we are a soul which contains a body. You know, I'm very fond of saying that there's not only is there no difference between me and you, but you are me and I am you. And you know, I don't want to offend anybody, but other things that I read in our recovery literature has led me to other things to read, not just the Bible, but to keep on going, like Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh, A Course in Miracles by Kubler-Ross, whatever her name is, Ask and It Is Given by Esther Hicks, and just keep on reading and studying. My sponsor says that he only needs the Bible and the NA text, and that's good. That's good for him. But for me, I'm hungry to keep on learning and passing on information and whatever is useful for people, that's useful for you. My best friend goes to AA and NA, and it's totally cool. I say soak up whatever you can get. NA is my home because of the broader focus, because it's on the illness of addiction. It's on the spiritual sickness of addiction, because we grabbed anything to fill that God-sized hole. Anything. Sex, food, money, power over another individual, which really is behind molestation and rape. It's not an act of love. It's an act of power over another. It's an act of domination. And I experienced that both ways before I stopped. And the worst things that I've ever done have happened while I was clean from drugs. And the first time that I brought that to a sponsor in a fourth step, it was so painful that all I could do to confront what I had done is to record it on a tape and sit there in front of him and play the tape, because it was so painful. And he said that was fine. He's passed now. His name is Charles. But confronting those trespasses, for lack of a better word, crimes they were devastating. They were devastating to me to keep on carrying around with me like a rock, like rocks in my pockets. And the lightness and the healing that one gets to feel from sharing their problems and cutting them in half, like my friend Troy S. says, when I share a problem, I cut it in half. Well, I want to take a sledgehammer and smash those problems, but those problems are useful because it gets me to where I am now. And whatever I've experienced that can help another, it's not a mistake anymore. It's not a trespass anymore. It becomes a tool of recovery. Because I can look at that individual with empathy and say, I got that too. I got that too. And it is possible for you to come out on the other side. And I have a sponsee that is in a lot of pain. He's the same one that I was talking about with the medication taking its time, being slow. But had I not gone through that experience of being molested by an assistant scoutmaster and a preacher, then I wouldn't have that tool to help somebody else. So it all comes out in the wash. Mm-hmm. Ooh, I'm talking. How many we got left?
4 others.
I love to talk about the process. I love how the literature says that we don't become perfect.
We will have to cut off.
Yeah. And
in 10 minutes, we will have to cut.
But I will say,
excuse me, what meeting is this?
I believe the process is
hello.
Perfect.
It's on your equipment.
I believe the process is perfect.
He can see me, but he can't hear me. Can you hear me?
They're talking.
Yes.
You can hear me? What meeting is this?
This is wrapping up from the mental health and recovery meeting.
Very much so.
Hello?
I'm sorry, I'm getting off.
It's the wrap up.
Okay. I forgot I was on here.
I think they might.
That's the mental illness thing. Sorry.
Hey, we accept everybody.
Okay, I'll be back tomorrow. This part of the convention, right? The 3-day convention?
That was interesting.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, come back. We need you, MB. Come back.
Yeah, there's more.
My sister told me to get off.
Love you.
Love you. I see you guys.
Have a nice night.
Time.
Absolutely.
Right. I gotta go. I got to go to bed. I got to. I am tired and my brain is fried.
Peace and love to you.
Talking to y'all. Thank you for sharing.
Okay.
And I'll see y'all later.
I appreciate your service, Nick.
Thank you.
Appreciate your service, man.
Appreciate it.
We're gonna go ahead and cut, okay, Matt?
Right on.
Thank you for coming. And thanks for sharing so graciously.
Anybody left? Anybody left?
We're heading out. We're
Okay. Thank you, Jay. Thanks for your service.
Thank you for showing up for us.
You got it, man.
Really appreciate it.
Love to be a service.
No, that was a big help. Thank you, man. Have a nice night. Peace.